Good morning. Welcome to Real Talks Dominate Real Estate. It's May 28th, 2021, and I'm Charlie Bengel.
And I'm Eyerusalem Meaza. Grab a cup of coffee. Let's make your real estate career better.
Happy Friday, Eyerusalem. What's in the news today?
So lower income homeowners could potentially save hundreds of dollars a month on their mortgage under a government refinancing initiative that starts sometime next week. Fannie Mae, one of the two government-sponsored and publicly traded enterprises that buys and sells mortgages, will open its Refi Now program on June 5th with the intention of helping an estimated 2 million homeowners lower the interest rate they pay on their mortgage and therefore the amount they pay monthly. Households earning 80% of less of their area's median income are generally eligible if they can meet some other requirements. Many homeowners in lower income brackets may believe that they can't afford to refinance, be convinced they won't qualify, or be unaware of the potential monthly savings. According to a statement from Fannie Mae, refinancing would save these homeowners an estimated $100 to $250 a month, according to the Federal Housing Finance Agency, which oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. To be eligible, borrowers must have a Fannie Mae-backed mortgage for their house, which they must live in, and as mentioned, have income at or below 80% of the median income in their area. They also must have missed no payments in the previous 6 months and no more than one in the previous 12 months. Additionally, their mortgage can't have a loan-to-value ratio above 97%, and they must have a debt-to-income ratio below 65% and a FICO credit score of at least 620. Lenders, meanwhile, would be required to reduce the borrower's monthly mortgage payment by at least $50 and give borrowers at least a 50 basis point reduction in their interest rate. In other news, contract signings fall as the market awaits more inventory. The lack of inventory continued to chip away at pending home sales last month, but the home buying craze is still going strong. The National Association of Realtors Pending Home Sales Index, a forward-looking indicator of home sales based on contract signings, fell 4.4% month over month in April. Still, pending home sales are up nearly 52% compared to a year ago. However, NAR notes that the year-over-year comparison is skewed since it's from a time when pandemic-related shutdowns prompted home sales to dip to all-time lows. Yun, Realtor chief economist of NAR, anticipates the overall housing supply to see an increase in the fall as more homeowners warm up to the idea of selling. An increase in inventory is largely predicted to occur as vaccine rates increase and sellers realize the equity they've accumulated. Charlie, what's going on with rates?
Thanks, Eyerusalem. Rates remain amazing. 30-year fixed rate 2.875, jumbo at 2.5, FHA and VA at 2.625. Back over to you to discuss today's market.
In the last week in Hampton Roads, we saw 870 new listings in the market, 889 properties go pending, and 800 properties sold. In the last week in the Washington metro area, within 30 miles of the White House, we saw 1,998 new listings in the market, 2,527 go pending, and 2,058 homes sold. Back over to Charlie with our special guest.
Thanks, Eyerusalem. Our first headliner this morning. It's my pleasure to welcome back to RE/MAX Allegiance, Chandra Hall. Chandra, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
Hey, it's great to see you. You spoke to our group, I think it was like 6 years to the month ago in person. So it's great to have you back and part of our speaker series. You're going to be joining us this Wednesday, June 2nd at 10 o'clock Eastern. And for those who have not registered, they can go to theallegianceway.com, click on events and register there. A little bit about you before we jump into our content. You've been a real estate agent for 25 years, third generation realtor. We've got lots of Colorado Springs in the house this morning. You're from Colorado Springs. Our next guest is from Colorado Springs. And you started college at 16, which I think is probably the fun fact of the day.
Yeah. Yes. It was interesting for sure.
There you go. So talk to me about the 5 simple steps to double your production. Let's first start with, talk to me about your background in real estate, and do you still work with buyers and sellers?
Yes, Charlie, I do. So I, as you mentioned, I'm a third generation realtor and grew up around the industry, and I still do work with buyers and sellers every day here in Colorado Springs. the 5 steps, it's really what we will take a look at 5 things that each one of us as agents should be looking at in our own individual businesses. And we'll talk about some great tips and things that people can take and implement in their business right away. So we'll break it down into 5 categories. The first one is treat your business like a business. We know as entrepreneurs, that's certainly important. It can be easy to kind of fall off the wagon on that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Secondly, we're going to talk about knowing your numbers. I mean, it was great to hear the stats. Eyerusalem was taking us through some of those, and you shared obviously about interest rates. And as a professional realtor, it's just really important to not only know the numbers of the industry, but also your own statistics in your own business. And I'll also share a really great question during our session that you can ask a buyer to help them get their arms around the status of the market. So we'll talk about that. The third item is set successful systems. I always say the success is in the systems. If you and I as agents, if any of us do something more than 3 times in our business, we really should have a system for it. It will make us more successful and bring more value to our clients. And then fourth is to have a written marketing plan. So we'll share some ideas around that. And lastly, a daily plan for productivity and profit. Probably one of the hardest things that all of us have a challenge with as entrepreneurs and business owners is that piece of time management. Not that we can really manage time, Charlie, as we all know, but I'm going to share with everybody a special system that I developed, oh my goodness, it's probably been about 10 years ago now. And it helps me and a lot of other agents get more done each and every day that make a difference in their business.
I love it. So you're going to try to make the scattered a little less scattered next week.
Exactly. That's right.
There you go. All right. What's the number one thing that would help agents create business?
The number one thing right now that would help agents create business is to get in touch with your clients. And what I mean by that is, so many times we get caught up in just trying to call our current clients and people that we're working with and returning phone calls. But really the number one thing that all of us could do is to schedule what I'm sure people have heard about for years, and that is an hour of power. And what that is a time-blocked section of your day to sit down, tune out everything else, and get on the phone and talk to your people. Now, mind you, Charlie, we're not calling up our people and saying, hey, are you ready to buy or sell? Or do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell? We're not doing that. And, we'll certainly talk more about that on our session on Wednesday.
Awesome. Very good. So again, this Wednesday, June 2nd, 10 o'clock Eastern, for those of you who have not registered, go to the Allegiance Way, click on events. We'd love to see everybody watching live so they can ask questions. Otherwise, there's always the replay that they can watch. It's great to see you. I hope you enjoy the long weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks so much for having me, Charlie. You enjoyed the holiday weekend as well.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Next up, our second special guest, also from Colorado Springs. You guys could have just been in the same studio this morning, Amy.
You'd think.
Coach Amy Lassen, it's good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Kind of dovetailing nicely with what Chandra was talking about. Today's topic is growing your business by growing your sphere of influence. Where do you want to start with that?
I wonder if it's growing your mindset around what is your sphere of influence, because
yes, I
think you and I both experience that as coaches, that we talk about it. And I have to start with the definitions. Do you have that issue with agents who they say sphere and they mean something else?
I don't know that I do.
So
go ahead.
Well, I've discovered that I have to ask.
So this, I'm gonna go right down into a rabbit hole. I did have an agent this week say, so you've been saying GCI. So can you tell me what GCI means?
Right.
So yes, to answer your question, probably so. And I, presume that they know what all this stuff means, and they may not.
Right. Or they have a definition that's not mine. So let's make sure we're speaking the same language. So I ask, how big is your sphere of influence? They'll say 600 people. It'll turn out they're cold leads that they got from a previous agent who left the brokerage. I'm like, that's not what I meant.
Right.
And then I feel like I'm being picky. But your sphere of influence is the people you know who know you. And Charlie, I had a conversation with someone yesterday. I guess it was our second call. So he's a new coaching client to me, and we had to play definitions again. He said, oh, no, I only market to my past clients. And I said, okay, because I've heard this before. I only market to my past clients. Oh, no, I would never bother my sphere. And I'm like, I always say, please don't bother anyone. But I ask if any of your former coworkers, your friends, your cousins, anybody who knows you, anybody who knows, likes, and trusts you as a human, you have an opportunity to educate them about the quality of your service and be in the consideration set if they ever choose to make a move or are looking for a resource. You could be that person. What do you think? And he was like, never thought of it like that. So I think expanding your mindset around what is your sphere, who are we talking about? Everyone who knows you and you know them and you'd be happy to help them. Let's rebrand you in their minds as a go-to expert.
Yeah, so I think I misunderstood your question a few minutes ago. I do have to define sphere of influence. I was saying when you're walking around town, people that you run into that you would have a conversation with, because there's a lot of people that, like you said a minute ago, oh yeah, I know 600 people, and half of them are people that they don't really know. They're just leads from Zillow from 5 years ago.
Sure.
And then somebody else was telling me it's the number of people that if you saw them, you would give them a hug. I thought, oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it as well.
Well, depends on how expressive the agent is.
Yes. But I think that there's always people that should be in that list that probably aren't, right? Like, we use the doctor, the dentist, example before. And I think I've said before that I've had a coaching client that she got a deal from her doctor. Why? Because they were talking about real estate. And I think a lot of people have a mindset around, well, my doctor or dentist or, housekeeper must know 100 realtors.
Yes, yeah.
And if everybody thinks that, then maybe they don't know any.
Who knows? I mean, you have an opportunity to earn that business. I said this to a coaching client who really doesn't have a sphere. She's relatively new to the market. She's in a place where maybe half the people who live there are real estate agents. And I said, well, who's going to sell the title company president's house? Somebody.
Yep.
Somebody. So let's quit having limiting beliefs around what this is available to us. But that gets us off the topic of sphere, maybe. I really think, Charlie, you and I have said this before, anyone whom you'd be disappointed if they listed with someone else, them.
Right. Yep. That's another great example.
So in June, we have a series of classes to help with marketing and organization and staying in touch and, client events and all the things. And there are wonderful ways to stay in touch with your people. I've shared stories before of one of my sisters has an agent who is just absolutely reliable with pop buys, right? She pops by multiple times a year, and they have used her over and over and over. And pop buys is the reason. And it cracked me up that, it wasn't necessarily the quality of her service. It was the fact that she pops by all the time. That surprises me. But I think we want to start potentially with educating people about what it is you do. Anybody who feels nagging, who feels rude, like, I don't want to do my hour of power. I don't want to call a bunch of past clients in sphere. I don't want to ask them how you are. They know I'm buttering them up and asking them for business. And I just want to say, well, then fix that.
Or I don't want to bother them.
Sure.
Well, then don't.
Why would you be bothering them? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I think polling everyone to ask, what they understand about our recent crazy market, or ask if they've had any thoughts of selling. I don't find nagging. I'm not trying to persuade them to sell. Right. I just want to know. It's interesting to see. I shouldn't say interesting. It's kind of shocking and concerning to see the pace of our market. And we talk about low inventory, but it's low standing inventory. We have an incredible number of houses selling every single month. And so I am a little curious. Who's left, right? What percentage of people will list and sell at these unprecedented high prices, and are they going to move out of state? So I don't know that that's nagging or unpleasant to just ask that question, to wrap your arms around the market. But I think the first thing, and Remax Allegiance has made this available to their agents on dominaterealestate.net, the letter, to just educate people about who you are, right? So send a letter, remind them, hey, everybody. I think a lot of agents are guilty of just buttering people up. It's the, how are you doing? How's work? How are the kids? Oh, by the way, if you were going to refer anybody, can I be the one who gets referred? Now you are asking them for something, right? I think when you show them what you have that they can take advantage of, call me anytime for anything. You're wondering if remodeling your kitchen before you list is a good idea. You know,
Right.
you think you may sell in 5 years, you're wondering if. And let's talk about it. I'm happy to help you. I'll be your sounding board, you know.
Yeah.
Anything real estate related, you give me a call.
Yeah, so go to dominaterealestate.net. You can click on Get More Sellers or Get More Buyers. That letter is in both. And it's the annual letter to clients letter. That's what Amy's speaking of. And we want to reassert that we want to be everybody that we know, right? Their number one resource for everything residential or home related, from the moment they think about buying their first house until they sell their last house, right? Everything in between that has to do with home ownership and maintenance and loans and all that stuff, right? We want to be the number one call when somebody does need to be the sounding board or thinks about refinancing, or somebody was saying that another good contact point, Amy, is because values have been rising so quickly, to be able to give somebody a CMA, because chances are their insurance may not be rising as quickly as the value of their home, right? And one of our agents, that's something that she's been working on, is getting that news out there. Hey, it's probably time for a little insurance checkup, with your insurance guy or gal. Frankly, you'd think the insurance people would be watching this and would be reaching out, right, to be checking up on us, right? As a way of prospecting. But, anyways, so that's another idea as well. But if you've not been on dominaterealestate.net recently, we're always adding new content, and I would recommend folks go over there and check it out.
Right. Well, and if we want to just sort of summarize all of June, we can talk about all the things that you can and probably want to do with your sphere. And the one is the letter. Reach out to them, connect with them. Actually, I feel like that's step 2, Charlie. First step is we got to wrap our arms around who they are, right?
Yes.
Use the memory jogger. Eyerusalem has a great class on building your database. There's also a memory jogger available on dominaterealestate.com.
Yep.
But really rack your brain. Try to figure out who you've forgotten, who are all the people that you'd love to be their go-to, and start creating a plan to nurture them over time. So then the letter goes out. So then, oh my goodness, this feels like a commercial, Charlie, but it wasn't meant to be. So next step is sign up for the newsletter at Remax Allegiance. The letter can say, I'm going to stay in touch. I'm going to be here for you.
Right.
I'm going to send you a monthly market update, and then do it, right?
Yeah.
So you said you were, then you do. Your consistency is compelling, right? The drumbeat of consistency gives them that sense that you'll be there when they need you. And they may tune you out for a while. Like, I don't need to read that. I don't really wonder how the market's doing. I'm staying in my house for a while. But if you're consistent, if they just sort of see it go by in their inbox and don't bother to read it because they don't really care right now, but it's always there, they'll just count on you to be there when they need you. And there you are.
Yep.
So I think those are the first 3 steps. Everything else maybe is frosting, but it can be hugely beneficial. And I think the bookend, the last one, is that send them a market update. That would be my last one, but maybe not, because I think if you just did jog your memory, build your database, send an announcement letter, tell them you're going to send a monthly market update and do so, and then once a year, give them a home value report of some kind, I think you've done it.
Yeah.
Maybe everything else is frosting. But the frosting can be pretty significant. And I think, when we look at budgets for marketing, how much should I spend on Zillow leads? How much is good return on investment? How much are Facebook ads again? Wait, it didn't work. None of them converted. You and I've been through it all, right? What should I spend? What should I be getting back? Should I pay for referral services, 25, 32%, 42% fair? So when you look at your own sphere and you think about marketing dollars, think about the fact that you're getting a tax deduction to enjoy the company of people that you really, really actually do appreciate. And I hope nobody is on your sphere of influence list that you can't stand.
Right.
I did have a client way back in the day who was so terrible I had nightmares about him. Well, I just shouldn't have listed his house, right? So I'm not talking about those types of people. So when you have client events once or twice a year, when you do the pop buys, when you do those extra special things, when you pay attention to their lives on social media, you make regular comments and engagement, you donate to their charities, when you do those things, that can be the most quality way of growing your business consistently over time. And then it's rewarding because you're building community with people that you care about. And I think I get pushback from people that's too much time, that's too much effort, that's too much money, but they're happy to cut a $6,000 check a month to Zillow.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, think about how nice of a party you could throw for $6,000.
Yeah, no kidding. Right. Yeah.
So I would definitely start with your own people. And if you don't have a sphere, if you're one of those people who is relatively new to the market, or Charlie, I've had this happen where somebody is so young that the majority of the people that they own will not be eligible to buy homes for quite a while.
Right.
I get that. I still hope you will attend our classes in June, because having a plan, having a foundational plan for sphere of influence nurture is vital regardless of how big it is now. You know, if you're going to have 10 people in your sphere in the next couple of months, you need a plan for nurturing them, right? I think, Charlie, a mistake that a lot of agents make is they skip that part. They say, well, once it's significant enough, I'll develop a plan for it, right? Like right now, it doesn't make sense. Like when I'm more experienced or when the list is longer, and then they just march down the road and they collect people at open houses or however they grow their business, and they end up with a bunch of past clients and they don't have a nurture plan.
Right.
Like I haven't talked to that person in 8 years. It'd be embarrassing now, right? So I think the sooner you put your sphere of influence nurture plan in place, the stronger your career.
Yeah, you know, if you only know 10 people and you're new to town, go ahead and have Cheryl send them the birthday cookie now, right? And then you just add to the list every month.
Yep.
And then in 5 years, when you know 200 people, you know, you already have a system going. I think that's good advice. And some of the things that we talked about earlier that you're sending them to be able to follow up with a phone call. Did you get my, right? Do you have any questions about my, that's, you know, that makes the phone a lot lighter, right? Because we know that the phone is very heavy for people when they feel like they don't have a reason to call, and checking in or saying hello or asking a question is not a compelling reason. But following up on a piece of mail, did you get my, a lot of agents, they're able to have that conversation fairly easily for whatever reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think something that, you know, we've touched on a little bit today when, you know, with our Zillow example, in addition to the amount of money that we're spending on kind of this outside business development, the people who already know us, like us, and trust us are far less likely to beat us up on commission, right? And are far less likely to give us a hard time when we talk about the price of their home in a listing situation. Yeah. Right? It's the strangers that we have little rapport with, that they don't really know us, like us, or trust us. Maybe they've seen some reviews or whatever, right? They know that we're competent, but they don't really know us. They're going to give us the trouble on the commission and on the pricing.
I think that's a really interesting point, Charlie. And I want to emphasize that I hope that one of the things that we'll teach in June and persuade agents of is that I don't want you to take advantage of that fact. The fact, like, how many agents have said, oh, I just work by referral. Oh, okay. So what's your conversion rate? Oh, 100%. You know, I get every listing. Well, how many listings did you take last year? 4, right? So if you're going to grow your reach and take more risks, you're going to have more opportunities to have to be on your game.
Yes.
So if you're listing more than just your mom's house, you've got to have more of a game. But the other thing is, I taught a class on listings at your brokerage a couple of years ago, and there was an agent who sort of sassed me around doing a full presentation, right? Showing your marketing, really laying out the plan, step by step, having a really incredible service model that you show in your listing presentation. And he said, I don't need it. He said, I'm 100% even with cold leads, which is super impressive, right? Whatever swagger, charisma, you know, gift of gab, knowledge of the market, yay, that's awesome.
Perhaps a little unbelievable, but go on.
Okay, well, and maybe I'm exaggerating.
Or maybe he was, but...
But I said, I get all that, and I'm encouraging you to consider one other thing. How many of them referred you last year, right? And I wasn't trying to have a gotcha moment, but it was crickets. Like there was none. So I'm not saying he did a bad job. I'm saying there's a difference between doing a perfectly adequate job and earning their repeat business,
right,
and generating a raving fan relationship.
Yep.
Where they're going to say, are you kidding me? On a scale of 1 to 10, Charlie is a 15.
Mhm.
You've got to pick up the phone and call that guy. That they will start to refer us to their friends and family and coworkers as a favor to their friends and family and coworkers, not as
Right.
a favor to us.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that that's an outstanding point, and that comes through outstanding service, right? And outstanding follow-up, and having an outstanding system.
Yeah.
Not everything being for chance and walking in with your listing presentation, which is actually just a CMA, and talking about marketing.
Yeah.
That's or is their house going to sell with 3 offers and 20,000 above list? Maybe. But you may not impress the neighbors that don't come through the open house because you didn't have one, or you may not, impress those sellers to where they refer business to you, like you just said. Now, I think those are powerful points.
And I think getting to the finish line and getting them 20,000 more isn't all there is. And the truth is, the client may be perfectly satisfied with that.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Right.
But I think what we can all raise the bar on, and Charlie, here's the wicked truth. If we had a system that we followed repeatedly, we would have less stress, right? So when I think I've shared this before, that I had an agent say to me, Amy, my goal is to make it so that my clients never call me. And I was super confused. And she said, if they call me, then I screwed up. She said, I have to be the one to call them. If they have to ever call me first,
right,
then I dropped a ball. I was like, never thought about that. And she didn't preface during a transaction, but I think during the transaction, the number of times that your buyer or seller has to call you and say, hey, what does this mean? I don't understand. Why do I need to? Could I get a home warranty?
Yep.
Wait, we haven't talked about, even if they're not upset, it's creating a friction and a stress that doesn't have to be there. Right. So when you follow repeating processes for everyone, including your sphere, you create this sense of it just feels right. It goes well. I've said to people before, do you disrespect your mom so much that you wouldn't, show her everything that's going to happen? Don't make her trust you, know? And it's not because she doesn't trust you. I just think that the ideal service model would be lay it all out, show them everything that's going to happen, ask what they wonder about it, and re-engage with everything they ask, and then tell them again. Don't say I told them once. Show them, and then every single phase of the process, roll it out again. Send the explainer video, send the bulleted email, always keep them in the know, and put a bow on it at the end.
I like it. Any other final thoughts this morning?
Well, in June, we are going to do all things sphere, and I hope everyone will engage with the various classes that we have, because we're going to do them in 1-hour sprints. We're going to talk about everything from marketing and touch plans to upping your referral percentage and growing your referral income. We haven't talked today about just even referral checks, right? How many referrals could you generate for deals that you don't even do? So lots of things to cover.
I like that. So that starts week from Monday.
Right.
Monday. We're off Monday due to the holiday. Hope you have a great weekend, Amy. Always good to see you. Back over to Eyerusalem.
Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. And as always, we are here to make your real estate career better.
Yep, good show today. Thanks to Amy Lassen, Chandra Hall, Eyerusalem, and producer Jackie. We'll see you all soon. Take care.